Greetings, my friends. Today I want to discuss a warning, or maybe you can call it a prediction, from former director of the White House National Trade Council, Peter Navarro. Navarro is warning that the internal struggle going on within the Republicans could become harmful for them in the future if not handled smoothly. The struggle he's referring to is between RINOs and Trump's America First Republicans. Now, I want to set the stage as to how credible Navarro is when it comes to his predictions. Before Trump came into power, he was yelling from the rooftops about China and warning America of the ensuing threat of the Chinese Communist Party. Navarro was so sure of this threat that he wrote a book in 2011 titled Confronting the Dragon, a Global Call to Action. Here, I want you to take a look at the clip yourself of him explaining in his own words.
So you have been talking about the potential dangers of U.S. manufacturing moving offshore for a very long time, before the president was elected, largely on this issue. Is this the type of scenario you were worried about?
No, this is the type of scenario I was worried about on steroids. Let me talk about what I was looking at during the 2000s. I saw primarily the Chinese Communist Party engaged in all manner of unfair trade practices designed to take us apart and the world apart, whether it was sweatshop labor, pollution havens, massive subsidies, the use of state-owned enterprises to attack our sectors. What I was concerned about was the loss of our manufacturing base in smaller and medium-sized communities where they would be hollowed out, and we would be left with an economy which could not grow fast and which could not generate wage increases. And as a collateral damage, we would have a defense industrial base which simply could not defend us. Now, up to Donald Trump, that's exactly what we were getting, and all the opioid addiction and alcoholism and crime on top of that.
Peter Navarro is also known for warning people not to trust Dr. Fauci. Even before the COVID pandemic hit the shores of America, Navarro adamantly did not agree with Dr. Fauci. Here, take a look at this clip.
Every time I confronted Fauci, going back to the first time I met him, didn't know who he was, I was right and he was wrong. That's weird. I'm the economist. He's supposed to be the healthcare professional. Let's be honest, Ari, throughout this pandemic, Fauci has been an uncertain trumpet about just about everything. The biggest thing that I think he said was this noble lie when he lied about masks because he thought there might be a shortage. I mean, that, I think, revealed his character. Fast forward to the latest thing he said, hey, we're going to keep people off airplanes so we can force them to vaccinate. I'm one of the guys who got that vaccination thing going, and we did a great job doing it. But I can tell you, Ari, it's only meant for people who are senior citizens and people with comorbidities. It's not something we should be putting in children.
Okay, my friends, let's explore this new warning of the struggle between the RINOs and the Republicans together. After announcing his forthcoming book, Taking Back Trump's America, the former director of the White House National Trade Council, Peter Navarro, has come forward with this powerful statement. If the midterm elections were held today, there's no question that the Republicans will take the House. Navarro also stated that in the upcoming elections, Republicans could win by a massive 60 seats, as the majority of America's population has united against the Democratic Party after witnessing the catastrophic actions taken by the Biden administration since coming into office. However, he warned that an internal struggle is going on within the Republicans that could become harmful for them in the future if not handled smoothly. To explain the internal Republican war clearly, he divided them into two parts as the globalist Republicans and the nationalist Republicans. Now, globalist Republicans, who are also called RINO, Republican in name only, who serve the interests of Wall Street and other multinational corporations that offshore jobs to the world. Nationalist Republicans, on the other hand, consist of Trump's Republicans who focus on securing borders and prefer fair trade rather than the devastating free trade. As Mitch McConnell of the Senate and Kevin McCarthy of the House are strong supporters of the RINO Republicans, giving power into their hands after the midterm elections could fail to serve the interests of those who voted for the Republicans. Later, Navarro expressed fear about the disloyal Republican and representative for South Carolina's 1st Congressional District since 2021, Nancy Mace, who, according to Navarro, is known for colluding with the Democrats to steal the election from Donald Trump's hands. During her first speech on the floor of the House of Representatives, Mace, after the January 6th Capitol incident, openly blamed President Donald Trump for the Capitol attack, despite the fact that she worked in the 2016 Trump campaign. Her destructive speech was also posted in the official congressional website with the headline saying, "Mace condemns President Trump." Navarro added, Mace is a poster child for the RINO Rove corporate media effort to stop the Trump movement. Furthermore, the manager for Representatives Mace's congressional campaign, Austin McCubbin, stated conservative organizations all score Mace as having a near-perfect voting record because she does not sacrifice her principles. Being known as one of the main influencers behind Trump's administration's tough trade policies against China, Navarro always believed in taking strong defense actions against China's aggression that helped Trump impose a $360 billion tariff on Chinese goods. Navarro has also expressed his strong views about Beijing's inhumane actions in his famous books like Coming of China Wars, Death by China and Crouching Tiger, What China's Militarism Means for the World. As he was one of the few senior officials that stood by President Donald Trump, he managed to identify 7 deadly sins of economic aggression by the Chinese Communist Party that they use to destroy or destabilize any country which they consider as a threat to their future. Now, before we go over the 7 deadly sins, let me take a quick moment to acknowledge today's sponsors. Our sponsors for today's episode are the amazing members of the Veracity community on Locals. Thank you for your financial contribution. It is greatly appreciated. And if you want to become a member and help contribute to the show, then click the link in the description and become a member and join me on the mission to deliver truthful news. Okay, so our first deadly sin is conducting cyber attacks on governments or companies to steal trade secrets. For example, stealing formulas of businesses, financial information, sensitive data, or any other secret on which a company or government organization depends. Number 2, conducting intellectual property theft like music, movies, patents, logos, and other related intellectual property to destroy the originality of a product by creating confusion in a consumer's mind. Number 3, forced technology transfer, an illegal process in which China, before giving any foreign company access to the market, forces the targeted company to share all their technology or secrets. Technology transfer of a business could include sharing their software code on which they depend, formulas, product research, developmental plans, and other procedures or valuable designs. And if they fail to share it, China will stop them from giving access to their market. This could also be the reason why Twitter or Amazon are not present in their country. But this also forces us to think about who is there. Apple, Tesla, Intel, Walmart, Dell Computers, Texas Instrument, the NBA, and many, many more. What did these companies have to sacrifice to access the almighty CCP dollar? Technology, or maybe even customer data? Okay, number 4, below-cost dumping of products into American markets. Number 5, the use of heavily subsidized state-owned enterprises that employ predatory pricing. Number 6, currency manipulation or unfair currency practices that gives China a trade advantage. And number 7, flooding of America's communities with illegal drugs like fentanyl and other opioids. By referring to the reversing of the executive order passed by the Biden administration in June 2021, Navarro expressed regret and anger at the unacceptable methods applied by the Biden administration in handling the country. The executive order was passed by the Trump administration in November 2020 with the objective to ban American investors from putting their money into companies determined by the U.S. Defense Department that are owned or controlled by the Chinese military. However, the abolition of the same order by the Biden administration has now put American businesses in a more vulnerable position. Navarro said, China is an existential threat to the country. My view is and has long been that we should stop doing any kind of business with them until they cease their economic aggressions, geopolitical, revanchist, and imperialist aggression. In November 2020, Navarro also published a report called the Navarro Report, in which he shared the detailed evidence as well as the statistical receipts about massive election fraud and irregularities in the 2020 presidential election. He stressed that the report was never denied by anyone except the Democrats, illogically claiming that there was no election fraud. Navarro blamed corporate media like the New York Times for intentionally ignoring the report and removing his famous In Trump Time book from their nonfiction bestseller list. He said that the New York Times has a cancel culture ideology because of which they expected responses to a well-written book fails to grab attention of the people at large. He added, "If we weren't in a cancel culture world, we probably would have sold 1 million copies of that book." In Trump Time, a Journal of America's plague year, was ranked top 10 bestseller by USA Today and has also been a bestseller on Amazon with 200,000 copies sold. With their constant effort to destroy the existence of America by flooding the borders with illegal immigrants, the Biden administration is now facing the wrath of courts from all angles. After witnessing 1.42 million pending asylum cases within 1 year of President Biden's coming into office, a Trump appointee U.S. District Judge Robert Summerhays has warned the Biden administration about enforcing Title 42. As we all know, Title 42 bans illegal immigrants from entering the country due to the risk of spreading COVID-19. The judge said he was calculating whether his decision to put Title 42 back on track violates with immigration officials' discretionary powers or not. The suit was initiated by the states of Missouri and Louisiana against the Biden administration's carelessness towards the border issues. The states argued that after banning the Trump-era Title 42, the federal government has violated the Administrative Procedure Act. The states also argue that abolition of Title 42 will increase health care costs and other related burdens on the states. Soon the court agreed that banning Title 42 will cause immediate and irreparable harm to the state and agreed to issue sufficient relief. In response, the government said they are focusing on implementing Title 8 of the Code of Federal Regulations to control flooding of illegal immigrants. However, the judge stressed that restoring Title 42 for a temporary period will do less harm to the federal government than the states. Thus, it is sufficient to issue a temporary restraining order. The Biden administration suffered another big blow when recently a Trump appointee federal judge, Matthew Kesmark, directed the government to keep the Migrant Protection Protocols Policy, MPP, alive until it is lawfully abolished. The MPP was created by former President Donald Trump to demotivate individuals from making fraudulent asylum claims and stop them from staying in the country until their court dates. The MPP also required non-Mexican asylum seekers arriving at the southern border to wait in Mexico until further processing is completed. As the Biden administration was focusing on abolishing the MPP policy, the states of Texas and Missouri requested the federal judge to consider the matter. While giving clear-cut directions, the judge concluded that the Biden administration has failed to give proper reasons to the court as to why they are considering ending the MPP policy. The administration also failed to justify the 1996 law that clearly specifies the detaining of certain migrants. The administration, not being satisfied with the federal judge's order, took the matter directly to the Supreme Court, where U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar argued that the lower court's ruling violates the foreign policy powers given to the federal government. She also argued that it is impossible to detain everyone who arrives at the southern border. However, Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Thomas stated that if Congress does not provide enough money to enforce the provisions of the law, then the executives have to do the best it can with the amount of money that's been appropriated to it and the other lawful authorities it's been provided. All these heavy blows from the courts on the Biden administration has made them realize the irresponsible decisions they were making this far. To be more specific, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has recently revealed a 20-page memorandum that will focus on controlling the rise of illegal immigrants at the U.S.-Mexico border once the emergency Title 42 policy is terminated in May. Mayorkas also vowed to increase the force of border agents as well as the NGOs receiving the illegal immigrants after they are released by federal agents to ensure that criminal groups and smugglers intending to smuggle people or drugs get captured. He said the administration is sending a clear message that the abolition of Title 42 does not mean that the U.S. border is open. However, he also expressed fear about the country's weak immigration system. He said, "Our outdated system, immigration, was not built to manage the current levels and types of migratory flows that we are experiencing and is already under strain. However, we have been able to manage increased encounters because of prudent planning and execution and the talent and unwavering dedication of DHS workforce and our state, local, and community partners. Despite these efforts, a significant increase in migrant encounters will substantially strain our system even further. We will address this challenge successfully, but it will take time. And we need the partnership of the Congress, state and local officials, NGOs, and communities to do so. We are operating within a fundamentally broken immigration system that only Congress can fix. As asylum cases are increasing at an astonishing rate, a leaked document from the Mayorkas agency has revealed that officials are expecting a major surge along the border once Title 42 ends. Republicans and Democrats, while opposing the ending of Title 42, also accuse the administration for not having a well laid out plan once Title 42 ends. According to Mark Krikorian, who is the executive director of the Center for Immigration Studies, immigrants have found unique ways to skip the court hearing and stay in the United States for years. In fact, many of them are constantly learning from other immigrants as to what they should say in the court proceedings to stay in the country. He said, "Smugglers have that all figured out. They coach on what to say, and the administration thinks that any claim of persecution, no matter how flimsy or improbable, is reason enough to be let go into the United States." Despite increasing the manpower at the border, the administration has witnessed the highest number of illegal immigrants in U.S. history. And in March alone, around 107,170 illegal immigrants were expelled by the border agents. And that's it for today, my friends. Now don't forget to like and share, and most importantly, join our member site and support the mission to deliver truthful information. I'd rather depend on the generosity of you, people I could trust, than ever be dependent on YouTube again. I'd like to thank you all for spending this time with me, and I'll see you next time.